Robert Shed Log, Sunday, 31st of May, 2020. Hello, I'm Robert, and welcome to my shed. This week I'm looking at the Taytools Wheel Marking Gauge, which I bought myself with my own money. Nobody is paying me to review anything. I bought this because Taytools, even though it's a relative newcomer to the market, it has a reasonable reputation for quality of construction, and I wanted a wheel marking gauge that would last. That's really all I wanted. It didn't have to be wheel gauge even, just a gauge that would last, and this one was made out of decent materials and to a reasonable quality. So the body of the gauge is brass, the rest of it appears to be mild steel, except for the cutting edge, which is hardened steel and replaceable via this screw. It works like a normal gauge. You've got this stop that lets you drive it up and down. A little groove stops anything from turning and gives you a nice solid bite when you screw it in. You can set the width of a piece of material very easily, one-handed. One-handed is good because the other hand can then hold the piece you're working on, so you don't have to worry about putting it in a vise, because if you had to put it in a vise, you'd have to put it into the vise, take the measurement, take it out of the vise, put in the other piece of work, the other end of the joint, then transfer the measurement, which is not particularly pretty. So I've been making some marks, 12mm on this piece, this size. As you can see, it fits exactly into the mark I made before. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it does make marks fairly easily. I'll show you. I'm just going to make a new mark here. It's going to be a dovetail box, so I need to mark all four sides anyway. And I don't know if you can hear that cutting. You probably can't because of the microphone arrangement today, but you can see it cuts nice and easily. And if you hit a rough bit, you can just turn it to keep going. It's a really nice line, exactly parallel all the way along. A little bit of problem at the edges. I have found that it doesn't go quite as deep at the start and stop, and that you don't want to push it too hard because then it flies off and cuts your finger. That's not what happened to this finger, incidentally. In case you notice the bandage on there. That was a chisel injury. See my last video, please, for that one. So yes, there we go. The Taytools Wheel Marking Gauge. It does have a couple of one nice feature, which is when you're done, you put it away, and you can then quite happily stand it on end or hang it up, whatever, without any sharp things protruding. No risk of cutting anything or blunting the blade, which is quite nice. It also has this weird nylon screw, which I'm a little bit worried that that's going to wear out in time. I know you can tighten it in again, but that bites against this screw. The idea is that you get a bit of you basically are able to put a tension onto the blade so it doesn't move up and down quite as quickly. That's supposed to make it easier to dial an exact measurement using one hand. I don't have problems, certainly when I'm measuring the width of something, I don't have problems dialing it in without that. But it does mean if I want a precise measurement, I could do it. That way, if I'm measuring against the end of my calipers, for example. So the total length of that you can measure with this is 118.225 millimeters. It's not quite in properly. Hang on. No, okay, 118.3 millimeters, which is a reasonable length. You're not going to make many joints bigger than that. In fact, I was able to use it to mark out these 10 by 10 centimeter bits of plywood, which I'm going to use to make a dovetail box. So yes, I'm quite happy to recommend the Taytools Wheel Marking Gauge as a basic entry-level, no-frills marking gauge. They also make a mortise gauge which has a separate second independent blade on it, so you can mark out the width of a mortise or a tenon based on the same reference edge. And yes, I'm quite happy with it. So as I say, it's very hot today. That's really all I've got time for, because I'm going back in the house where it's a bit cooler. So thank you for tuning in this week, and hopefully next week I'll have a bit more shed related stuff for you. That's all for this week, so ta-ta.